Alrighty. Let's hang out, friends. What's everyone doing tonight? How are we doing? Let me tweet out the stream so that people know that we're hanging out, so that people can come and hang out. Let me take care of some stuff. Tweet out the stream. Come hang out. Impromptu conversation. Want to have. Let's just hang out. Let's have some fun. It's not that serious. Boom, 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 boom. Alrighty. What's going on? Michael Murphy in the house. T-Gar won't be able to stick around, but still wanted to stop by and show my support. Go Jets. Yep. Go Jets. Love it. I like chill. Me too, Jimmy Jets. Xavier Garcia. I see your Twitch chat, but I don't see you on my chat, which sucks. That happens. It happens. But how's everyone doing tonight? What's everyone up to? What's everyone doing at this moment? Want to have some fun Jets conversations because, well, this last week has been a fun week for the Jets, in terms of at this point in time last week, we were, kind of, I don't want to say we were, right? But there was good reason for fans to be kind of down and in the dumps, and there was a lot of things going on, and there was a lot of, the Sleepy Joe comments were starting to pick up steam, and, oh no, Joe Douglas isn't doing anything, and blah, blah, this, and blah, blah, that, and loud noises and screaming, and, well, a lot of that changed. We were able to change a ton of that perspective that fans had about the team, really, really quickly. It did that for me. I was in that boat, and I totally understood that comment or that sentiment of Joe Douglas isn't working quick enough, and if he keeps on waiting, we're going to miss out on everything. But to be fair, a lot of players became available that I didn't anticipate becoming available. I didn't anticipate Mike Williams and Keenan Allen becoming available. I didn't think a Jerry Jeudy trade would materialize into anything. I thought, if anything, Cortland Sutton was going to be the receiver that was going to sneak free. DJ Humphries came available late in, and then Jerry Jones, the owner of the Cowboys, saying that they're going to go all in. That changed a lot of things, in my opinion, when I thought, oh, well, there's no way that they're going to let Tyron Smith walk out the door. And again, a lot of different things happened, a lot of different situations, a lot of different stuffs. And I think that's the interesting part, to me at least. And that's that what ultimately ended up happening, one, worked out in our favor incredibly, but two, was a big deal for the Jets in the long run, because I think we walked away with every player that we wanted. I think if you asked a lot of Jets fans, they would have said they wanted Tyron Smith. And maybe while I wasn't one of those people, it wasn't because I didn't want Tyron Smith. I just never thought it was realistic. That's the real thing. Like, the materialization of Morgan Moses, I didn't anticipate that to come into fruition. I didn't anticipate that to be real. And, well, it did. It's kind of crazy. So, yeah, hey, guys, I'll say this now. If you have any questions, please throw them in the chat. I'm here to talk to you guys. We're here to be interactive. I don't want it to just be my thoughts and my opinions, because that's a dangerous place to be, and I don't want to be in that spot for too long. But, yeah, man, let's hang out. Let's hang out. If you guys haven't watched my newest video, the newest video is talking about how the Jets can really, truly, and everything go all in. How can they really go all in? What are the moves that I anticipate the New York Jets being able to make that allows them to go all in? And so If you haven't watched that video, go and watch that. Leave a like, leave a comment. It really helps out the YouTube algorithm. But I will say this. One of the things that I do think that the New York Jets definitely can do is address the wide receiver room and the offensive line room. I think you can. You're not done there. Xavier, just real quick, you're watching this on my channel, right? This isn't because I'm not seeing your chats, man. Okay, I am seeing your chats, but not in the right place. Like, your chats are showing up in a different spot. I'm confuzzled. Whatever. I can see your question. What do you think of Xavier Worthy? Obviously not at 10, but if we trade all the way back. Can you define what you mean by all the way back? There are 3 listings? Oh, I see what's happening. We're gonna give me a second. Give me a second. That explains it, Adam. That explains it. And then this is Adam, you saved me. And then, where do I go? Give me a sec. Go live. Boom. You got it. Boom. Adam fixed it. Adam fixed it. Give me a second. And I just gotta... Nope. 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 There it is. There it is. Adam, you're the GOAT. Thank you for that one. There it is. I deleted all the other ones. There should be gone. Everybody should come here. There should be no other live streams. They should be deleted. I'm going to check again to make sure. I am an idiot. I could have messed something up. That is very well and true. Okay, only one thing is live right now. Fantastic. Let's go back to contents. Let's look at live. There are no other listings. Beautiful. Thank you so very much. Fixed it. Thanks, Adam. Now we can go back to Xavier's question. Hey, what do you think of Worthy? Obviously not a 10, but if we traded all the way back, is he worth it? Can you define trading all the way back, Xavier? Like, what do you mean by going all the way back? Because the spots where I would feel comfortable taking Xavier Worthy is not in the first round. This is not me saying that he is not a first round talent, right? That's not it. But what I will say is that there is a world in which maybe you don't... What's the word I'm looking for? There is a world in which you would have to go really far back for Xavier Worthy to become available. And where Xavier Worthy is available, there might be other receivers that I'm more comfortable with. So, like, if you were to drop back, like, really far, and you got to take a wide receiver in, let's say, the bottom end of the first. Let's say you go all the way back to the mid to late 20s. Well, who else is on the board at wide receiver? Because, like, I would personally take A.D. Mitchell ahead of Xavier Worthy. I would take Troy Franklin ahead of Xavier Worthy. I would take Ladd McConkey ahead of Xavier Worthy. You know, that's kind of the way that I look at it. Xavier Worthy to me is more a guy that's going to be that second, maybe even third round, probably a second rounder type of wide receiver. And in that space, I would feel more comfortable with some other guys. But that's not me anti-Xavier Worthy. That's just me saying, like, I really like this draft class when it comes to wide receiver. If you guys watched my video earlier, I know I was talking about it earlier, but, like, one of the things that I mentioned is I think the Jets, even with getting Mike Williams, should still go out and sign a wide receiver and should still draft a wide receiver. Like, the goal should be push Allen Lazard so far down the depth chart that he's not just struggling to see time on the field. He should be struggling to dress. That's a legitimate conversation. Is Allen Lazard going to be a healthy scratch? Dude, I felt like he gave up on the team last year. And I'm not going to award a guy for giving up. Like, just straight up. I don't care if you're friends with Aaron Rodgers. I don't care whatever the situation. I was all for going out and getting Allen Lazard and seeing him just give up. There's no other words to describe it. He just gave up. Didn't sit well with me. And if it wasn't for the fact that we would save literally no money cutting him, I would have cut him. Like, just straight up, I would have cut him. And I hope he goes out there, and I hope he proves me wrong, and I hope he pushes every snap and earns every rep and goes out for 1,000 yards and 30 touchdowns and all of that stuff. But do I think that's going to happen? Absolutely not. And that's the whole point. So, yeah. Again, I love Xavier Worthy, but I would rather have some other guys in the building that I think maybe provide more value to the Jets. But yeah, I hope that answers that question. And maybe later we do a mock draft. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm cool with doing a mock draft. I love me some mock drafts. I will say this. I think that the goal for the New York Jets has relatively been accomplished, and that's becoming an enigma at 10, right? No one should know what the play at 10 is. And I mean that, like, including the Jets. The Jets should go into the draft just saying, like, let the board fall as it may. Let's see what happens. Maybe it's Brock Bowers. Maybe it's Olufashanu. Maybe we trade up. Maybe we trade back. I don't know. We'll see how it feels. Whatever tickles my fancy. Like, I kind of want, like, a semi-buzzed Joe Douglas going into draft night, just kind of, like, shooting from the hip, man. Like, just... That would be really funny. I know he's not. He's going to take it very seriously because it's his job, and he should very, very seriously take it into consideration. But what I ultimately want to avoid is... Billy, since you're here, I'll use Billy as an example. Billy still believes that offensive tackle is the move at 10. I don't agree. I don't disagree, but I don't agree. But what I don't want to happen is if the Jets agree with Billy and they see the move at 10 is tackle, by going out and getting Morgan Moses and by going out and getting Tyron Smith, what they've essentially done is prevented a team from saying the Jets need a tackle. They don't. Last year, we needed a tackle. And by projecting that out into the world... By projecting the fact that the New York Jets needed a tackle into the world, it gave the Pittsburgh Steelers and the New England Patriots an opportunity to screw us over. And we know of any of the two franchises in the NFL that like screwing over the Jets, it's the Pittsburgh Steelers and it's the New England Patriots. And they worked together their magic to screw us over. And we lost out on Broderick Jones. And you might want to believe, and I tend to believe, that the New York Jets probably thought that their offensive tackle room was fine. I don't believe that. I didn't believe that. I thought they still needed I loved Broderick Jones. But I just don't want to be in a position where if we didn't sign Mike Williams, everybody knew the Jets would probably take a wide receiver at 10. So now if Rome Odunze is there at 9, a team can come up and trade up to go get Rome Odunze. And that's what I don't want to be in a situation. I want 10 to be, dude, are they going to take Brock Bowers? Are they going to take Rome Odunze? Are they going to take Talise Fuaga? Are they going to do this? Are they going to do that? No one should know. And that's the key. That's the key. So, boom. Red John. I think Lazard got humbled. He'll be better this year. I want him as the 4th, though. I agree on everything that you said except for I want him as the 4. I want him as the 5. I want him as the 5, having to earn reps at the 4. I would bring in another wide receiver, which is going to get me to a comment that's going to be, I'm going to skip to it. Can the Jets still sign Tyler Boyd by Kinjo? I have no idea how to pronounce that, man. I love the Itachi thing, and I think I can guess Japanese name pretty well. Kinjo, not in my wheelhouse, man. Too many consonants right next to each other. It's almost Welsh. Yeah, they absolutely can. They absolutely can still go sign Tyler Boyd. I heard from some very interesting people that the New York Jets aren't done at wide receiver and that they're still in the market for the guys like your slot guys. That's what they see as a need for the New York Jets right now. And well, when you look at the available players that are slot players, you've got a ton of guys that are going to be in and around anywhere from $3 to $7, $8 million, and the New York Jets might be in on one of those guys. I will say that depending on what happens with Jadeveon Clowney, that might ultimately dictate what you do. If Jadeveon Clowney leaves the building and doesn't sign with the Jets, I still think we need another edge rusher. My pivot would be Kyle Van Noy. I know he's 33, but we're looking for edge 4, not edge 2, you know? And I would bring him in just to kind of be a rotational piece in that edge room, have him compete for snaps with Michael Clemens as edge 4/5, which is exactly kind of what you want, because your 1, 2, 3 is JFM, JJ, and Will McDonald. Like, that's clear as day. And so you still got to bring in somebody. But if you bring in a guy like a Jadeveon Clowney and he's at like a $9 million price tag, now Tyler Boyd and, you know, OBJ and maybe even Hunter Renfrow kind of go out of your price range, and now you're looking and shopping in the Josh Reynolds bin. And I'm not anti-Josh Reynolds. I'm just saying, if it was up to me, the salary cap would just not exist for just the Jets alone, and I would bring in Jadeveon Clowney, and I would bring in Tyler Boyd, and I would bring in, I would just bring in everybody, right? Like, that's an ideal world. But it's just, that's not how it works. So I think you're either going to go another bigger name wide receiver and then a lower end defensive end, or you're going to go a Jadeveon Clowney with a Josh Reynolds to be wide receiver 4, and then you draft a guy to be wide receiver 3, and that's what you do. Now, that might be just wishful thinking, if we're being honest, and the Jets might just say, screw it. We're not taking another wide receiver. We're just going to draft one, and then we'll keep Lazard as the 4. And that's not that bad of a role for him. I would love to sign another wide receiver and draft one. But that's what I would do. But I hope that answers the question. I know it's long-winded. I have a tendency to do that. Red John, get Bakhtiari and draft a receiver or move back a few spots. I mentioned this in my video earlier today, Red John. I don't know if you saw it, but yeah, I think if Bakhtiari is open to taking a backup deal, right? A 1-year stay healthy kind of deal. And then we'll talk. I wish you could do this type of deal, right? Because you have these types of deals in other areas. Whereas what you could do is like, hey, we're going to give you a 1-year deal. If you can back up Tyron Smith the entire year, be fully healthy the entire year, not suffer an injury, we'll activate a player, like in basketball, they have the player options and the team options. We'll give you a player option. You can activate the deal, and we can't back out. That'll then sign you to the New York Jets for 3 years at $20 million a year. Like, if there's a way to convince him to say, look, Tyron Smith is 33. He's here on a 1-year deal, but we still need a tackle after him. Bakhtiari is still young enough to where I could legitimately justify a 3-year deal if he can give me a 1 year of fully healthy, of being fully healthy. And so that's where I would have that conversation with his agent and be like, because I would love to bring in Bakhtiari, because now you've solidified the offensive tackle room. At that point, I would move Max Mitchell into guard, like full-time. He's going to be your right guard of the future. AVT is going to be your left guard of the future when Simpson's gone. Carter Warren's your right tackle of the future. And then David Bakhtiari is going to be your tackle for the next 3 years while you try and figure out and maneuver a plan for a new starting quarterback and a new left tackle post the Aaron Rodgers years, or hell, Aaron Rodgers can play for another 4 years, whatever it is. The problem with all of the stuff that I'm saying, Red John, is obviously, would David Bakhtiari even take that deal? Would he take a deal that would be prove that you can be healthy for a full year, and then we'll give you the big money payday afterwards, and you'll be the starting left tackle, and like we'll do all that stuff? Would he do that? I'm not so sure that he would, but if he would, I would totally do it, like 100%. And like, to be clear, I'm comfortable with our tackle room the way that it is right now. I could totally go for the rest of this offseason not adding another tackle. I legitimately mean that. I think a tackle room of Tyron Smith, Morgan Moses, Carter Warren, Max Mitchell, and then break glass in case of emergency, AVT, I'm more than cool with that. I think that's a more than adequate offensive line, especially since Morgan Moses played with one arm last year and played incredibly well because he tore his pec week 4 and played the entire season and 2 playoff games with a torn pec. So I know, like, dude's about to play with a broken foot if he needs to. Like, I have no fear in that. And so now you're talking about a lot of things need to go wrong again for us to be in dire straits. But I would prioritize the interior of the offensive line. I mentioned that earlier today on the Armchair GM show. My new focus is shifted away from tackle, and I need a high-level backup guard. Elijah Vera Tucker at guard scares the ever-living bejesus out of me. I'm not a big fan of that as the move. I would have put him at tackle. This is not me saying that I don't like that we signed Tyron Smith and I don't like that we got Morgan Moses. Those things are awesome. But when you're talking about the strength of that Achilles and having to hold up 300-pound defenders and all of this stuff, I am worried now about Elijah Vera Tucker's health because we're putting him in a position to use that strength a little bit less. So let's see what we can do. Let's see how we can move. Let's see what we can maneuver and do all that stuff. So boom. After this free agency, it's hard to say for sure what the Jets will do at 10 or with 10. I think it's more likely than not it will be left tackle at 10 for a number of reasons, but I'm not so sure anymore. Well, hey, growth. Do it. I'm not too high on Worthy, just wondering. I'd want Mitchell more as well. Again, it just depends on when you take a wide receiver. That's the key. When are you planning on taking a wide receiver? It's in the first round. Xavier Worthy's probably not on my list. There's a ton of guys that I prefer over Xavier Worthy. If it's in the second round, well, Xavier Worthy's definitely on that list, but there are other guys that, if they're available, I would prefer over him. Like, again, I'm not anti Xavier Worthy. I'm just, the situation has to be if he's the number 1 wide receiver on the board and I want to take a wide receiver in the second, I'm totally going to take him. I think he's awesome. But yeah. They could do a lot of things here now. They could trade up for Harrison or Alt, or go Bowers at 10, or trade down to get a second. Don't exactly know what the Jets will do here now. I hope it's a trade down. I would love to trade down, get Brian Thomas, get a guard in the second round, and then get another wide receiver in the third. Or you can go a multiple of different ways. But 10 is wide open, and I love that. I think Herbig is still out there. He was good for us. He is not out there. He is on the Steelers. He is not a free agent. There was talk that maybe he would get cut for money reasons because they signed Isaac Swemelu to take his job, essentially after giving him the starting left guard job. They then signed a guy to play it for him. But if you're Herbig, I think you want to stay in Pittsburgh purely because the competition for right guard is going to be one that I think he can win. I loved Herbig. But yeah, not sure if that's all that true. I'm not sure if that happens all that much. I think that if you're going to go interior offensive lineman, you're looking in the draft at this point. I don't know if you're looking at free agency to fix that interior. Jake Hansen, good enough. Wes Schweitzer, good enough. And I think that truthfully. I don't want them starting. Please don't get me wrong, but in a pinch, they're good enough. But now if you're telling me in the second round you can go and get a guy like Christian Haynes, or in the third round you can start looking at a guy like Christian Mahogany or Mason McCormick or Bo Limmer or Cooper Beebe or Zach Zinter or Javane Cohen, Tanner Bartolini. Like, there's a lot of guys that you can get where you're just like, I'm a little bit more comfortable here. And that's not even including the guys that can play tackle and guard, that you might be able to target. You know what I mean? If you trade back and you can get a guy like Troy Fontenot out of Washington, or if you trade back and you can get a guy like Graham Barton or Jordan Morgan or Blake Fisher, guys that might bump inside, Dominic Pooney, guys that might play tackle, might play guard. Like, these are guys that have that kind of flexibility, I guess is the best scenario to say. There's a lot of ways that you can address that need. And so, yeah, very interesting. Hype, welcome. I still say trade back and get JPJ and a second. Get Slick Rick Pierce, Pearsall in the second, a developmental tackle in the third, then Malik Washington with the first, fourth. So, okay, so let's talk about this plan. If you're drafting JPJ, and if you can, where does he play? Who are you replacing? Hey, Hype, thank you for hitting the subscribe button. Like, who are you replacing on the interior of the offensive line? Because you can't take a first-round player to be a backup, in my opinion. Just can't do it. Not in a year where you have to win. We did that last year. Everyone annihilated Joe Douglas for it, so you can't do it again. So if you take JPJ, and I love JPJ, this is not me being anti-JPJ. Where does he play? Are you playing him at left guard, so you're benching Simpson? Are you playing him at center, so you're benching Tittman? Are you playing him at right guard? Are you benching AVT? Are you playing him at right guard, putting AVT at left guard, and benching Simpson? Either way, like, what's the plan there? So I would love to hear your opinions on that. Love Ricky Pearsall in the second round. I love that guy. I think he's awesome. I would love to do that. Developmental tackle in the third. I'm totally on board. We were talking about a couple of names earlier about guys that could legitimately be, you know, those types of players, you know, those let me pull up the big board real quick. Guys that you might be able to get in the second and the third round as tackles that can be developmental guys. You know, you might not be ready year one. Your Jordan Morgans, your Kingsley Suamatea, your Kieran Amegdaji, Blake Fisher, Patrick Paul, Dominic Pooney, Matt Goncalves, Christian Jones are all guys that you're going to be able to get in that third and the fourth round that have legitimate upside, that can be starters one day. And I love those guys as later round picks. So maybe. And then I don't know if Malik Washington makes it to the fourth. Love me some Malik Washington. But if you're planning on targeting a slot wide receiver in the fourth and Malik is already gone, Hype, I would recommend you look at Taj Washington. He's awesome. Hey! Thank you, Hype. I appreciate that, man. Super chats skip the line, and if you want to see little magical stuff, I'll drop the link. Give me a second. Where is the link? It should be in the description of the video, if we're being honest. Let me pull it up right now. Okay, in the link in the description, if you want a little jumping little man, and if you are so inclined to donate and to do any of that stuff, in the bottom there is a link that says want to leave a tip, and it's a Streamlabs link. That will be kind of like a super chat, except I don't have to split any of the money with YouTube, so that really helps. I am a stay-at-home dad. I am a full-time student. This is my only source of income, and I would love to fill this wall with more Jet stuff, and the only way I can do that was your guys' support. That's it. I'm done. Hype! Thank you so much. Get ready to put him or Tittman at guard. See, donated through a super chat, and it comes up this way, but it takes a second. But there you go. Thank you guys so much. Let's answer this question. You get ready to put him or Tittman at guard and AVT at left tackle. Interesting. But, like, we just signed Tyron Smith. So what do you do with Tyron Smith? Or are you just anticipating Tyron Smith is going to get hurt? Again, look, I love me some JPJ. Like, don't get me wrong. And before the Simpson signing, I would have said trade back, get JPJ. Like, that would have been my plan. That being said, at this point, I don't know if JPJ is in the cards. I don't know if JPJ is in the cards. Love me some JPJ, and I would love to have Elijah Vera Tucker and Tittman at guard with JPJ in the center between the both of them. That would be magnifique. That's a dream of the future. I just don't know how realistic it is. And again, one of the things that I do want to avoid is players that are going to be on the bench week 1, especially in round 1. I would love for whoever you get in round 1 to be a player that starts week 1. And I know that might be a little bit weird. Go and get the depth, and JPJ would be one of the best interior offensive linemen on the Jets, and easily he would play this year. I don't expect every single one of those players to play every single game, and having a really, really high level insurance policy is a really, really good idea, and JPJ is one of the best to be able to do that. I'm just not the biggest fan of that, if that makes sense. Boom. Let's go back up here. 10-star, please draft offensive linemen on the first 2 days, and we can address the receivers on day 3. I disagree. I agree with what you're saying. I disagree on when we can take a receiver. I would take offensive lineman on day 2, and I would take a wide receiver on days 1 and 2. I think our need for wide receiver is still great. Alan Lazard is wide receiver 3, and I don't like that. At all. Now, if you can trade back, and I think you just said this, if you can trade down and get more day 2 picks, totally on board. But I still think we need at least 2 more wide receivers for this team, in my opinion. And the easiest way to do that would be in the draft. So there you go. The receivers I want are both legacy players, McCaffrey and Rice. Love both of those guys. I had to go back and watch Luke McCaffrey to get his vibe, because he's dope and all that stuff. Charles Gorman, how are you, my good sir? I'm doing great, man. Tired. A little bit stressed out about some real life stuff, but other than that, we're doing pretty good, man. We're doing pretty good. Thanks for streaming. Always appreciate it. Anytime, man. I want to start doing this more. The kids and their schedule is starting to get a little bit more the newborn, let me say. Not a newborn anymore, man. He grows up too quick. I don't like that. They grow up too fast, man. But their schedules and stuff is a little bit more consistent. So I'm going to start doing... Excuse me. I'm going to start doing more of these late night streams because I want to. And yeah, that's it. Deal with it. What are you going to do to stop me? I say trade down and target Fatano or Mims. Love both of those guys. Again, if we trade down, I want a wide receiver in the first. I don't want a guy who's going to back up. I don't want a guy who's going to be a backup week 1. I want a guy who's going to be starting week 1. But yeah, boom. James Paulini. Would you be surprised if we take a defensive player at 10? I would not. Look at the history of us. I wouldn't. Not at this point. Like, edge is totally in play at 10. Interior defensive lineman is totally in play at 1. That's really it. I don't see a corner for us, and I don't see a corner, and I don't see a safety that's worth the number 10 pick, and there's not even a linebacker that's worth the number 10 pick, in my opinion. But like, you could definitely convince me that the Jets are going to fall in love with a player like Jared Verse. Now, this is not me advocating for them taking a defensive player at 10. I don't want it to happen. But with the state of the team and the way that it is right now, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, at all. At all. But again, it comes back to the player that's taken in the first round needs to be on the field week 1. Starting. The first rep of whatever side of the ball they're on, they need to start. So if you're telling me that Jared Verse is going to start over JFM, cool, fine. Take Jared Verse. If you're telling me that Byron Murphy is going to start next to Quinnen Williams, cool, I get it. Take Byron Murphy. But don't do it, please. Don't listen to that. But you can convince me far more that a guy like Rome Odunze, that a guy like Brian Thomas is going to be that second or third wide receiver on the field week 1, whereas in a guy like Troy Fontenot, who, again, I'm a big fan of, or Amarius Mims, or Talise Fuaga, he's going to be on the bench week 1. He's not going to displace any of these guys. And that is where I stand. Great question, though. Where do you think Leggett falls to? I really like him as well. Xavier Leggett has a massive amount of variability on people that like him and people that don't like him. I tend to be one of the people that likes Xavier Leggett. He reminds me of DK Metcalf, but there are some concerns there with his play. I originally had him graded as a late first-round guy, and after redoing my evaluations on the wide receiver, he is solely going to be somewhere in the second round. In the second round, there's going to be a run on wide receivers, and teams are going to come up to get their wide receivers, and he's going to be in that bunch. So I would say middle of the second round is where you're going to see Xavier Leggett go, and I would not be surprised if in a couple of years he's one of the best, or in the opposite, if in a couple of years we talk about, what could have been with a guy with that kind of athleticism, size, speed combo. I hope it works. I really hope it works. I hope it goes like that. But that's that. That's how that works. So, boom. That kid McCaffrey in a year or two is going to be so special. Someone has taught him how to play the position. No, McCaffrey, it's his brother's. You can tell he's his brother's brother. That's a weird thing to say, but he's crazy athletic. I love the athleticism that you see out of that kid. And I really like the idea of partnering him with our coaching staff on the offensive side of the ball at wide receiver. Asiani is one of the better, in my opinion, one of the better coaches that we have in the on our offensive coaching staff. And I really like what he was able to do with a lot of the guys last year. Seems to be a really good teacher. So, yeah. Don't think it's all that crazy of a plot twist, Xavier. It's probably the way that we're having all this conversation just for Jared Verse to come to the New York Jets, right? We all know that's what the pick is going to be at 10. And to be fair, the last time we took an edge rusher out of Florida State, kind of worked out. All I'm saying. JJ and Verse. That might be the best defensive line room in the NFL. JJ Verse, JFM, Will McDonald, Andrew Davian Clowney. Please don't take an edge player. My heart can't handle it. Not another edge in the first round. I get it. We were screaming for the rooftops for an edge player, and then we got one in JJ. Because the last time we had one was freaking Abraham and all this stuff, and yeah, we got one. And then we took another one, and it's like, yeah, we got one, and now it'd be like, oh, we got one. You don't have to overcorrect that much. Come on. There are other positions on a football field. There are other players. What is your perfect draft scenario? Trade up, trade down, stick and pick. What do we get? What do we lose? Perfect draft scenario. My perfect draft scenario would be contingent. Okay. I'm going to give you my perfect draft scenario if we sign David Bakhtiari to back up Tyron Smith, and then if we don't. If we sign him, you go up for Marvin Harrison Jr. You trade this year's 10, this year's 72, and next year's 2 for 5 and a second round, and the Chargers' second round pick this year. So they move back 10 spots, get a 2 next year and a 3 this year. We get their 1 and their 2. On the points chart, that's value. That value matches up. It's actually technically an overpay by the Jets. I would do that trade. I would even throw in a 4th if they want another 4th, because we got 2 of those. If you do that trade, then you take Marvin Harrison Jr. In the second round, you take Patrick Paul. Red John, thank you. And so you do both of those things, and then I don't care what you do with the rest of the draft. Literally, I don't care what you do in the 4th round, or the 5th round, or the 6th round. Literally, I could care less. Does not matter to me. That would be my dream scenario if we signed David Bakhtiari in as the backup left tackle. Now, if we don't, especially because I don't know in that trade scenario if we would get the second back, it's more than likely that you would have to give up 10 and 72 and not have a pick on day 2, period. And that's why I would really, really want to sign David Bakhtiari as the backup left tackle in that scenario. Now, if we can't bring in David Bakhtiari to bring back to back up Tyron Smith, you trade out of 10 to, let's say, 18 with the Bengals. Take Brian Thomas Jr. if he's there at 18. If not, take a guy like A.D. Mitchell at 18. In the second round that you got from the Bengals pick, take Patrick Paul or any of the offensive tackles. Or, hear me out, Christian Mahogany. I would probably look at guard. And then in the third round, look at like a Dominic Pooney or a Braxton Jones. I forget their names. The kid out of Texas, I would look at tackle there, and then that's just the first day. Like that would be day 1 and day 2, and then day 3 you figure it, you finagle it, and you see what happens. But that would be my scenario of what you would do. And you could even convince me if it's possible to try to get back into the second round so that you can try and get like a guy like Patrick Paul and a guy like Cooper Beebe, like get both of them in the second round. And I think that would be great value if I'm being honest. If you can trade 72 and both fourths to come back into the second round of this year's draft, like let's say you draft Patrick Paul and then you also go up and get Cooper Beebe, like I'd be cool with that. But in a perfect scenario, if we don't sign a backup left tackle, I would want to go wide receiver, 2 offensive linemen in a trade back on days 1 and day 2. If we bring in David Bakhtiari, sell the farm, go get Marvin Harrison Jr. So, boom. Red John, thank you so much. Appreciate you, my good sir. How far can we move back and still get Brian Thomas Jr.? Well, let's look at the draft board. Let us observe. Mock draft simulator. First round. Jets. Let us look. So the Denver Broncos could take a wide receiver at 12, but they probably won't. The New Orleans Saints need a wide receiver, so there's a team that could take one. The Colts could take a wide receiver, but they need a DB more than anything else. The Bengals could always take a wide receiver because it's the Bengals. I think the farthest you can trade back and be safe, guaranteed you know you're going to get them as long as no one jumps in front of you, is 14 with the Saints. So you would have, that's the farthest you could go back, is 14 to the Saints to confirm 100% you're going to get Brian Thomas Jr. Because the moment you hit 14, that's when the fourth wide receiver can come off the board. Because the Saints can take a wide receiver, the Colts can take a wide receiver, the Jags can take a wide receiver possibly. The Bengals can always take a wide receiver because why not? The Steelers need a wide receiver. They just lost Deontay Johnson. I got reports from a guy who's connected in the Miami place. I think it's Daniel Meehan. Like, he's a fan, right? And he was telling me that apparently Greer wants another wide receiver, which is insane to me. So Miami. So again, if you want to guarantee Brian Thomas Jr., the farthest you can go is 14. If you're cool with a guy like A.D. Mitchell or Roman Wilson or the guy out of Oregon, like I forget his name. There are a ton of different wide receivers that are available in this class. Lad McConkey, Troy Franklin, Ricky Pearsall. Like if you want more of those guys, you can go as far back as you want. But if Brian Thomas Jr. is the guy that you want, he's the guy that you want, 14 is the lowest you can go. Hope that answers your question. Wilson, Harrison, Williams would be insane. Absolutely would be. I just want McCaffrey for returns. Lock that down and contribute on offense when you're called on. I would love McCaffrey. Dude, I have no problems with McCaffrey. Like, for real. Wild Wave. What's up? I think Greer's seeing Hill flaming out soon. Yeah, and he's starting to beat up on women and children a lot. And, like, he's due for some jail time soon, right? Right? Let's go get there at some point. Tigo, let's trade up for Neighbors. The Chargers would do it since they definitely want to tackle. If you trade up with the Chargers, dude, you're getting Marvin Harrison Jr., not Neighbors. If you can get to 5, I think that guarantees you Neighbors. I'm with you, Wild Wave. If you can get to 5, go do it. If they're willing to go back, do it. I would do it without blinking. Without blinking. If you can get to 5, if they'll let you get to 5, they're cool. I would do that trade. Do that trade now. I wouldn't, but if Minnesota and Arizona get a deal done before the draft, which is what I think they're trying to do, is get a deal done before the draft so that they can take the 4th quarterback off the board. If that happens, I trade with the Chargers immediately. Right now, Marvin Harrison Jr. at 5. Easily. Steelers stealing an O-line for Russell. Watch. Yeah, no, they need a tackle. They need a center more than anything. I think the Steelers stick and pick at 20 because you could probably get JPJ at 20. Now, if you wanted to guarantee JPJ, you would have to come to, 15? Because JPJ's window starts with, the Seahawks at 16? Seahawks need a center. The Jags need a center. The Bengals need an entire O-line. So, interesting there. Vervain, what's good? Wilson, Harrison, Williams, Conklin, Ruckert, and Brees out of the backfield. How the hell do you cover that? You don't. You just don't, man. Like, period. Like, period. I'm new to Jets Nation, baby. Welcome. Charlie's weight loss journey. I appreciate you. Man, I am also starting my weight loss journey. I am overweight, and I want to lose some weight. I want to get back into Navy shape. Dude, I'm at like 210 pounds. I don't feel healthy. And I know that that's not like, oh my God, he's not super obese. But, man, I used to be a tight 125. You know? I'm not saying I want to get back to that. I was really, 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 like, really skinny. But I just want to be like, dude, if I can be 175, 180, I'm going to do that. If you guys are interested, I am going to document that, because for some motivation. I'm going to put that on my Instagram. So if you're interested, you can go follow me on Instagram. If you don't. I don't post stuff on Instagram. I'm going to be using Instagram purely as a resource to document it. So, Charlie, I wish you the best on your weight loss journey. And, dude, this is awesome. I know that I said that Super Chat skipped the line. And I'm getting to you, Brian Bourne. I see you. It popped up. It interrupted the stream. I see you. I lost close to 205 pounds and still going. That's awesome. That's great. I love to see that. Brian Bourne, thank you. Super Chats are always appreciated. Not necessary, but super appreciated. Like I said, I'm a stay-at-home dad and a full-time student. So the only income I have is from YouTube. So this is greatly appreciated. All the help that comes with you guys. Who do you think is the best wide receiver most likely to go in the 2nd round? This is a great question. Okay, so let me be very clear on who I don't think is going to go in the 1st round, or in the 2nd, or who won't be there in the 2nd round. Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, Romo Dunze, Brian Thomas Jr., and A.D. Mitchell, in my opinion, are all going in the 1st round. And when you're looking at the 2nd round receivers, if I had to bet money on saying who is going to be the best receiver of them all in let's say 5 years from now, when they're on their 2nd contract, you would have me hard pressed to bet against Xavier Leggett, Ricky Pearsall, and Jermaine Burton. I think those guys are insanely athletic. Insanely athletic. Love me, and I just think their upside is really, really good. If Xavier Leggett goes to the right system, to the right coaching, to the right everything, he might be talked about as one of the best receivers in this class, like hands down. Like that's including the 1st round guys. because he's got all the tools. But he is 24. How much more can he really, really learn? And Jermaine Burton and Ricky Pearsall are just insanely, insanely athletic. So when you've got guys that are just really, really good athletes, you can do that. Roman Wilson is really, really smart. But to answer your question, if I had to bet my money on it, I'm going to put it on Ricky Pearsall out of Florida. I think that of the second round guys, I think he might be the best one. I really see MHJ going to the Chargers. Their wide receiver room is atrocious. Yes, it is atrocious, especially since they traded Keenan Allen and got rid of Mike Williams. But they're going to go offensive line or Brock Bowers. Because offensive line and Brock Bowers, they help the running game. And they're going to want to develop a running game. Dude, the Chargers hiring Harbaugh was the worst thing they could have done for Herbert. It's the worst thing because now they're just going to be a run-first team. They're going to have this insanely good quarterback, and freaking, what's his name? Their OC, I forget his name, is just going to run the ball 90 times a game. It's crazy. I think the Giants would pass on Neighbors. They have small, explosive receivers in Wan'Dale Robinson and Jalen Hyatt. Odunze will give them more flexibility. I get what you're saying, Wild Wave, but Malik Neighbors is so damn good. I don't think you can pass on a guy like that. Tigo, 10 years from now, you're going to be 240, wondering how the F that just happened. Nope. I'm getting back into shape, man. Getting back into shape. I got, here's my, we just bought a bunch of stuff. I set up the home gym, got the dumbbells, got the bench, got the rower. I'm getting back into shape. I want to be in shape. I have 2 little kids now, man, and I get tired chasing around them. I want to be their coach. I want to be around. I want to be healthy. I want to be active. I'm going to do all that stuff. The dumbbells got delivered today, and if I wasn't flying to New Jersey tomorrow, my workouts would start tomorrow. But I've been hitting the rower, man. We've had the rower for a couple weeks. I've been rowing for an hour every day. It's a good time. I'm already down 2 pounds. It's a good time. Is your draft scenario contingent on just Bakhtiari or any backup? Well, I wouldn't say just Bakhtiari. I just don't see a really high-level tackle backup that would make me super comfortable. So I guess it is just Bakhtiari. So yeah. Red John! I like your show. Why don't you create a regular slot like Wednesday at 10 p.m. or something like that? Red, I did. I had one. It was on Fridays. I did Friday nights. And then I had a baby. And then life hit. And so it got really difficult. I am definitely trying to get back into streaming more regularly, especially now that the baby's schedule is more relaxed and that my wife's schedule is more consistent. And so that's the whole thing. I am going to find a slot. I'm going to carve it out, and it's probably going to be in and around 9, 10 o'clock, something along those lines where I'm going to be doing a regular show because I like streaming. I think streaming is a fun bit. The interaction and all that stuff is really, really awesome. So I love that. Thank you so much, Red John, for another super chat. I really, really appreciate it. You guys have no idea what this means. It all starts with the Tigo diet, eat right, and everything else will fall into place. Man, I know I just hate dieting. I know I got to do it. It's just, I hate it with everything in my being. 125, no wonder you got crushed by Milano. Bro, 125 was as an adult, not in high school. Dude, in high school, I was like 95 pounds soaking wet, carrying a couple of my teammates' pads, man. I was a twig. It was a twig. My metabolism was so fat, I couldn't put on muscle. And I was in the weight room. Wasn't a thing if I wasn't trying. I was in the weight room. And then just out of nowhere, my metabolism slowed down. And then I just started, it turned out of nowhere, right? Up until I was 18, I was 110 pounds, if that, dude. I was a twig. And then I turned 19 years old is when I remember it happened. I was a twig, and then it just turned. And that's when I was in the gym, and I finally started putting on muscle, and I finally started feeling out my body. Dude, you used to be able to see my ribs. They used to stick out. Dude, he folded me like a cupcake with good reason. There is no doubt in my mind of why I got folded. There is very, very, very good reason. I was a twig, man. Just insane. Insane! Let me see if I can find a photo of me in high school. Let me see if I want a photo of me in high school. That's the real question. Do I want a photo of me in high school out there on the internet? Whatever. I'm gonna look for like 6 seconds. If I can find one in like 6 seconds, then I'll show the screen, the stream. If not, then I give up. And I have given up. Yeah, we're done. How's the schedule this year? We okay with the AFC South, right? We're not okay with it, but we're not okay with it. Let's pull up the schedule. Let's pull up 2024 NFL Jets schedule. Who will the Jets play in the 2024 NFL season? So obviously, we play the Bills, the Dolphins, and the Patriots. We play the Texans. We beat them last year. We play the Colts. We can beat the Colts. We play the Broncos, but this time at home, which is great. We can beat the Broncos. We play the Rams. The Rams are going to be fun, but they have to come to us, and that matters. Remember, we have 2 teams coming from the West Coast to play the Jets this year, in the Rams and in the Seahawks, and that matters like a lot. So you'll love to see that. Then we play the Bills, the Finns, and the Patriots away. Then we play the Steelers away. That should be a good game. We play the Jags away. I might go to that game. We play the Tennessee Titans. We should win that game. We should win the Vikings game. We should win San Francisco this year is going to be fun. It's going to be a really interesting game. And then we play the Cardinals. Like, again, let's look at it. Let's say we split with the Bills. We split with the Fishes. That's 2 wins there. We should beat the Patriots twice. Oregon Jets, thank you for subscribing. I appreciate you. We should beat the Patriots twice. We beat the Texans last year. We should be able to do it again. We should be able to beat the Colts. We should be able to beat the Denver Broncos. The Rams are difficult, but we should be able to beat the Rams. They don't have Aaron Donald anymore, so yay. Seahawks are difficult, but they're traveling. We should be able to beat the Seahawks. Steelers, we should be able to beat. The Jags, we should be able to beat. The Tennessee Titans, we should be able to beat. The Vikings, we should be able to beat. San Francisco is going to be a very, very difficult game. We can beat them. I'm not saying we should beat them. I'm saying we can beat them. And then we should beat the Cardinals. Like, every game on the schedule, we can beat. Now, we should beat like 8 of these teams. We should beat the Texans, beat the Colts, beat the Broncos, beat the Rams, beat the Seahawks, beat the Jags, beat the Titans, beat the Vikings, and beat the Patriots twice. That's 10 games that we should win. Like, that we should be able to beat. But, like, we can sweep the Buffalo Bills. I'm not scared of the Buffalo Bills with Aaron Rodgers. Are you? With our defense and how decimated they got, like, I'm not scared of the Fishes. They lost everybody. Everybody. And if they take a wide receiver in the first round, done. Done. Again, I'm not saying we're going to go 17-0, but there are games that we can win. The trap game for the Jets is the Arizona game because we have to travel to Arizona to play. So, yeah, we'll see. I hope we wake up to Jadeveon Clowney signs 2-year contract. I hope so too, Jonathan Gonzalez. That'd be great. That'd be great. That'd be great because then that would essentially remove us from the high-end wide receiver market, which would make my dream of taking a wide receiver in the first round more likely. That to me, again, I would love Jadeveon Clowney 2-year, line him up with Aaron Rodgers, and just go all in, man. Just really go all in the next 2 years. Rams will fall off on defense. Yeah, but like Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, Matthew Stafford, if they're healthy, they can win any game. That's just the reality of it. Sean McVay's a stud, and that's it. That's it. Like, as long as Sean McVay's the head coach and as long as Stafford's healthy, they're going to be in games. Yeah. Get the penny out. Tigo was live. Woohoo! Trombix, what's up? I think Houston will have a slump year like the Jags last season. I don't know, man. I really like DeMeco Ryans. I think the thing with the Texans is that the Texans are the Jets of 3 years ago. You know, except they got the quarterback pick right. The defense is isn't where it needs to be, right? Like, that's just the truth. The defense isn't where it needs to be. I still feel like they're missing a number one wide receiver out there in Houston. I still feel like they're missing a number one running back out there in Houston. There are still a couple of pieces that they're missing in Houston, but they've got a really, really good foundation, and their window is now. So they're going to try to maximize that. But when you look at the rosters objectively, their offense versus our defense wins, and in a big way. We saw that last year, and it's back at MetLife. So again, same situation. And then the other thing is when it's our offense versus their defense, again, I think we win that matchup as well. So this isn't me saying that, like, I'm trying to sleep on the Texans, they suck. No, the Texans are a great organization right now. Like, they're on the come up. It's just, I don't think position for position, player for player, there isn't really a player on the Texans outside of Laramie Tunsil that I would take over what the Jets have at their current position. Like, if you're talking about, like, on a one-year basis, I would take Morgan Moses over, I forget their right tackle that they have out there. I would take our entire interior offensive line over their entire interior offensive line. I would take Laramie Tunsil over Tyron Smith, just because Laramie Tunsil is available and he is the second best tackle in football behind Trent Brown. Like, Trent Brown? What's his last name? I forget his last name. Is it Trent, his last name? The guy from San Francisco is the best left tackle in football, and Laramie Tunsil's right behind him. So that's my whole thing. I just think we're a better team. Totally biased, but as it stands right now, there are only 3 to 4 teams that can beat us. I think that there are teams that can beat us, right, Kyle Cause? Like, the Bills can beat us. The Finns can beat us. The Rams can beat us. The Seahawks can beat us. The Vikings probably can't beat us, not with J.J. McCarthy as their quarterback. Like, but the Jags can beat us. San Francisco and the Steelers can beat us. Like, those are 7 teams right there that can beat us. But here's the kicker. We can also beat all of those teams. That's the kicker. There's not a single one of those teams where it's like, yeah, we probably lose that game. Trent Williams, thank you, Junio. We should be in every single game. Every single game. Any update on Clowney? No, not yet. I think Jadeveon Clowney is going to take his sweet-ass time, and he's going to go visit with every team, and he's going to go do all that stuff, and I respect him for doing that, but I would love for him to come to the New York Jets. I hope he's at a point in his career where he's ring-chasing. And, dude, there's no better team to come ring-chase than on the New York Jets. Oh, you want a wide receiver and want to run? How about the rest of the draft? Got to go O-line right after round 1 then, right? I don't really think so, Kyle. I think the offensive line is kind of fine. If I'm being honest. Like, would I like to upgrade the offensive tackle backup? Yeah, but I don't see it as a necessity. I am more than confident with Max Mitchell and Carter Warren as left tackle and right tackle backups. More than confident with those two guys. I would love to bring in a high-level backup guard, like a Cooper Beebe or something like that. I think that is a big deal, and if you can do that in the second round, I would love to do that. But, again, Jake Hansen played well when he came in. Again, if you had to, gun to my head, you have to take one player on the offensive line, what position is it? I would say offensive guard right now over tackle. If I can only add one more player on the offensive line, give me a high-level offensive guard. I'm really worried about Elijah Vera-Tucker at guard now. If it was like Elijah Vera-Tucker at tackle, I would have said go take a tackle, right? Or, no, I think the answer was always guard. I'm not worried about our tackle room. After the Tyron Smith signing, I'm good with our tackle room. If you want Patrick Paul, cool. If you want Talise Fuaga, cool. Like, I get it. I'm just not there. I want starters. I want impact players on days 1 and 2. And I'm willing to sacrifice day 2 picks. Like, if you're talking about, no, day 2, we're going to take an offensive tackle to sit there and learn. Cool. That's fine. I'm on board. I get it. I understand why. But in the first round, the reason I want a wide receiver is because a wide receiver will play week 1. Week 1, they'll be on the field and they're going to play impactful snaps. Guaranteed. And that's what I want. I want a week 1 starter in round 1. Brock Bowers is a stud. Edward, you're absolutely right. Brock Bowers is a stud. And if the Jets picked him, I wouldn't be all that mad about it. Now, I will say this. He is not the player that I want at 10. if you're saying, I want Brock Bowers, that's the player I want, I would look at seeing, have a conversation about how far can you move back and still get Brock Bowers. You know, what team is likely to take Brock Bowers? The first one on my board is the Bengals. Like post 10 is the Bengals. They're a team where I could say they've been looking for a tight end for a while. So maybe them. But yeah. Get a QB3 like Pratt or Travis in the later rounds. I like Tyrod, but I can't act like he's not injury prone. My good Sir Junio, if both of them go down, the season is dead anyway. Everybody's fired. Everybody's fired. Like, I'm just being honest. I'm not anti-Pratt. I like Pratt. I'm not a fan of Travis. Jordan Travis, keep him off my football team. I love me some Michael Pratt. I love for him to just sit there and learn behind Tyrod and behind is going to be great, but that's that. Hackett is not going to use Bowers correctly, in my opinion. There's kind of no wrong way to use Bowers, though. I think a lot of people are hating on Hackett, and I get why. The offense last year was atrocious, and he can't adjust. Hackett has zero ability to adjust to what's in front of him. But you know who can? Aaron Rodgers. But here's the thing. If you watch back those games, which I did, I suffered through the games of last year again. Dude, we had players running wide open. All year. All year. We had players running wide open. And we just didn't have quarterbacks that could hit them. So, like, Tyrod is here, so at least we can't hurt him anymore. Yeah, that's true. Every time he gets hurt is because of us. You know? So, at least that. We have another 5 torturous weeks until the draft. Yes, sir. Yes, we do. What would you give up to move up for Neighbors? I don't know if I move up for Neighbors. I love me Malik Neighbors, but I don't know if I move up for Neighbors. I move up for Marvin Harrison. If the draft goes 1, 2, 3, 4, quarterback, I call the Chargers. 100% I call the Chargers. And I say, what do you want for 5? I'll give you 10, 72, and next year's 1 for 5, and this year's 2. Would they do that deal? You know? That might be too much. I don't know. If you can get to 5 for Marvin Harrison Jr., I would do it. Now, Malik Neighbors, if he makes it past the Giants, right? If he makes it past the Giants, let's say you don't go there. Marvin Harrison goes to the Chargers. The Giants go literally any other position, and that would blow my mind. The Titans are taking offensive tackle. I would call the Falcons. If Malik Neighbors makes it past the Giants, the earliest I trade up is with the Falcons to 8. And now that would cost like a 4th round pick. I would make that trade to get in front of the Bears. Yeah, because if Malik Neighbors makes it past the Giants, the first team that'll take him would be the Bears at 9. Good question though. Do you think there's a likelihood we trade up, or is this all just wishful thinking? Joe Douglas has traded up in every single one of the drafts in the first round that he's done for the New York Jets, I believe. Right? No, because he didn't trade up in the Mekhi Becton draft. We didn't trade up in that draft, did we? In the first round? Every draft after the Mekhi Becton draft, because we traded up for Elijah Vera Tucker, we traded up for Jermaine Johnson, and then I guess we traded back for Will McDonald. But he's made a trade in the first round every single year, except for the the Mekhi Becton year. So I don't think it is just wishful thinking, but it is definitely, I think it's definitely on the table. A trade up or a trade back are both in the table. I would trade up to 8 with Atlanta for neighbors. Absolutely. Dude, I would even risk it. You know, here's the thing, though. Because Matthew Smith is saying this to kind of just get a reaction. That's what he does. I love me some Matthew Smith. But I am really high on a guy like Rome Odunze. And so if they're both there at 8, dude, you're going to get one of them. So just stick and pick at 10. You know? Just stick and pick at 10. With his job on the line, does he go MHJ or, and go for broke? Here's the thing, Xavier. I don't know if his job is really on the line. He's here as long as Aaron Rodgers is here. You know? If Rodgers decides to play a third year, even like, I'm not even going to say the words because your words have power. But let's say 2024, you know, happens in that way and you're just like, ugh. If Rodgers decides that he's coming back, because it is up to him. If he's coming back, if he wants to come back, I don't know if they do anything to change it. But I am with you. I would go for broke. I would go all in. Go all in, man. Well, I do, but Odunze is an X. Neighbors is not. I disagree. I think Neighbors absolutely can play the X. Odunze is built like an X, right? Like 100%. I'm not going to sit here and argue that. Freaking 6'3", 215. Totally get that. But Malik Neighbors is no chump. He's 6 foot, 200 pounds. He can play the X. He's so incredibly good. I love Rome. He has the work ethic to be a number 1. Totally. Dude, I love Rome. Rome is the pick I want at 10. If we stick and pick at 10, I want Rome. Trade number 10 and next year's second for number 5, then trade 5 for a first and second this year. Don't think the Chargers would take that trade. I don't think the Chargers are moving back 5 spots for a second-round pick in next year's draft. They want something this year. 30% of Neighbors' yards came from the same route. He's got a limited route tree and an unimpressive contested catch rate. As for Odunze, he leads this cast in contested catch rate. Absolutely. But you know why Neighbors only ran a limited route tree? Because no one could cover him. Not taking anything away from Odunze. I love Odunze. But teams in college are incredibly disappointing. And let's not forget, a lot of people aren't ready to hear this, but like Jaden Daniels is an incredibly limited quarterback. He's not good. He is not worthy of being in the conversation to go at the number 2 or number 3 overall pick, in my opinion. Personally, I don't think he's worthy of that conversation. And I don't think J.J. McCarthy is either. Let me be very clear. But they're going to go because quarterbacks get overvalued. And what Odunze did for Washington and Michael Penix is absolutely incredible. And Michael Penix is probably one of the most talented quarterbacks in this draft class. And if it wasn't for his injury history, he would be in the conversation to be in the top 3, if we're being honest. And I love me some Rome Odunze. But Malik Neighbors was asked to run like 4 routes all year because that's all he needed to. Because LSU and more importantly, college offensive coordinators are super uninspiring and unintelligent and just dumb. And if they find something that works, they're just going to do it. And that's literally what they did with Neighbors all year. It's like Neighbors is just kind of faster than everybody, and he's just kind of quicker than everybody. So you're just going to run a post. You're just going to run a slant. You're just going to run a go. And that's it. You'll get open, and Jaden Daniels will hit you down the field. Done. Easy breezy, beautiful cover girl. Boop. So that's that. Wild Wave, that's true. Aaron is the owner. Exactly, dude. Dunze is a younger Mike Williams. Dude, I love Odunze. I love Odunze. I want Odunze at 10. I love it. Dude, I love this wide receiver class. I'll take any of them. I'll take any of them. And here's the thing. Now that we got Mike Williams, like, you can convince me to take literally any of them. You want to take Malik Neighbors? Cool. Go get another Garrett Wilson. I'm cool with that. You want to take Rome Odunze? So a younger, healthy Mike Williams? Let's do that too. That's great. You know what I mean? Like, there's literally no wrong answer at wide receiver in the first round. There's just none. None. You want the best wide receiver I've ever seen with my own 2 eyes coming out of college and Marvin Harrison Jr.? Absolutely. I think everybody should. You want a Garrett Wilson clone and Malik Neighbors? Yeah, sure. Who doesn't? Garrett Wilson is awesome. You want Mike Williams but not hurt and younger? and probably a little bit faster, freaking Rome Odunze. Go get that guy. You want to get tall, 4.3 speed? Brian Thomas. Like, dude, this wide receiver class is insane. I love it. That's why I want one of them. I don't think so, because we're much deeper this year. Tigo, when they say a guy has to work on their releases, what does that mean? Line of scrimmage? Yes. Yeah. So it's their release package. So obviously in press man, a corner can line up on the X specifically, like right up on his face, right? Because a lot of people don't know this, but the wide receivers and their alignments, how far off of the line of scrimmage they are, that's written in the rule books, right? Like, you can't just line up everybody off of the line of scrimmage. One wide receiver needs to be on the line of scrimmage, like right with the center. One guy needs to be like 3 yards off. Another guy gets to be a little bit closer, but not that far off. Like, those separations and those distances are predetermined by the rules. And so in line, that's like the best way to think about it in your head, Wild Wave, is when you play Madden, you know, when you play trips on one side, you have the 3 wide receivers lined up in a bunch. Those distances that the wide receivers are, that's set in stone in the rule book. And you can say, this is the X, this is the Z, this is the Y. And you can see that by how far away from the line of scrimmage they are. So that's the whole thing. So for a player to truly be considered an X, you have to have all of the you have to have a really good release package, because you have to be able to avoid the corner's hands. That's why there are some players that are talked about as a true X, right? Because they have a really good release package. They can separate from the corner at the line of scrimmage immediately, right? And in the reverse, when you talk about a guy like Sauce Gardner, he was so good at press because he has such long arms. He can get in there and disrupt the wide receiver's timing with the quarterback. So when the quarterback looks up for the wide receiver and he's not where he should be, that's a hitch. And that's the whole point. That's why you press. And so, but a press can be very dangerous, because if you play a player like Tyreek Hill, or let's use one of our own, Garrett Wilson, who has an incredibly dynamic release package and can create separation consistently and quickly, you're not interrupting the timing, and now you're on his back hip. And that's open in the NFL. So, hope that answers that question. Seems like Brian Thomas Jr. is getting a lot of love lately. Absolutely, because he's wide receiver 4, and I think he's getting a lot of love, Raw, because I think a lot of people want the New York Jets to trade back out of 10, and he would be the next wide receiver taken after the top 3. So, I love it. I love it. Peter, thank you for your service. Thank you, Peter. I appreciate you. I love being in the Navy. Don't mind me. I'm just taking my victory rounds. Go get it, Rob. Oh, that's why Rome be getting jammed at the line. He has to work on that, and he has to work. He has the work ethic to do so. He also has the athleticism to do so. You have to remember as well that sometimes these release packages that work in college, like, they don't have to work on it so incredibly hard, because, like, they're not all that great. And remember, he was in the Pac-12, and the Pac-12 doesn't really have a history of having a ton of really good cornerbacks, especially, like, recently. I don't think any of the top corners in this class are Pac-12 guys. Yeah, none of them are. Like, you know what I mean? The first one is Kyrie Jackson out of Oregon. And then it goes a while before you get another one. So, yeah. Hope that answers that. I'd just be someone in Madden in a nail-biter. Last-second field goal. Gotta love that. Are you doing a draft, a watch party for the draft? Julio, I won't be. What I will be I will be hanging out in the Talkin' Jets draft party, and recording my reactions live when the picks come in. I got 3 monitors, so I'll have the draft watch party in Long Island that they're going to be doing. I really wanted to go to that, but unfortunately, I won't be able to, and that's that. Brian Thomas is available, and you can trade down to get him. Then Odunze, I heard he is not much better than him. I disagree with that one. I think Odunze is better, much better than Brian Thomas. But I think the value of the picks that you get trading back outweighs that gap, if that makes sense. If you can move back 5-6 spots, get Brian Thomas and a second-round pick, that whole package value is better than Rome Odunze on his own. But I think the gap from Brian Thomas to Odunze is much deeper. Brian Thomas I don't see as an X receiver. He's going to play in the Z. He's going to play in the Y. He's going to play in the slot. He's going to be a really, really cool gadget guy the way that you use him. But I don't think he has wide receiver 1 upside. There's only really a couple of guys that do. But the thing is that I'm not looking for a wide receiver 1. I'm looking for a wide receiver 2. And Brian Thomas epitomizes that magnifique. Garrett Wilson has only 78 releases in Madden. So annoying. Yeah, dude, it's ridiculous. I've watched his game use 78 releases on 2 different snaps. Just ran it back. Juked the guy out of his shoes and gave him another shot. Juked him out of his shoes again. He wasn't even running the route because he knew Zach wasn't going to see him if he was open anyway. Incredibly proud of this team. Can't wait to see what we do this year in the playoffs. Love it. Tigo, if we miss out on Marv, don't worry. 3 years from now, we'll draft Jeremiah Smith, the next great Ohio State wide receiver. Yeah, man. Wide receiver you. Like, plain and simple. Wait, they're having a watch party in Long Island? I might have to go. Yeah, man. Tickets are available on the Talkin' Jets website and open bar, a bunch of stuff. It's a really cool time. I'll probably be at the Jet Life draft party because it was free last year. It was awesome to be able to throw footballs on the turf there. Yeah, man. I wish I lived up there. I really don't. I love being down here in Florida. Let me be very clear. But I do hate that I miss out on a lot of that stuff. Ace of Spades. What about Malik Washington in the mid-round? Can you give me some intel on his game? Malik Washington is awesome. So he is going to be at the next level a slot wide receiver and a slot wide receiver only. Now, don't take that as a dig on him as a player because it shouldn't be. Because Malik Washington was one of the most productive players in all of college football last year. And in the slot, he is going to be an incredibly, incredibly, incredibly hard player to block. And the reason for that is even though he is 5'8", he is 5'8", 200 pounds. And he plays with the size and strength of a guy who's 4 inches taller than him. And that's the thing. You can truly run out of your 11 personnel packages because he can block. And I mean, he can actually block, which is awesome. You love to see that from a player. And yeah, he is limited, like physically. He's got short arms. He's 5'8". He doesn't have game-breaking, win over the top kind of speed, you know? And that's where you kind of see him. He's strong and he's powerful and he's got a good lower half and he's really good with the ball. But if you face one of these like longer slot corners or something like that, or if he gets mismatched on a corner with long arms, he kind of can be erased. And so there you go. I love him, though, in the 4th round. 3rd or 4th round, he'd be great. What is this story? Can someone give me the TLDR on the Ohtani story? All I saw was a report that said the translator got fired. That's it. What is the story? I miss New York, too, but I wouldn't move back. North Carolina living is treating me well. Yeah, man. I love being down here in Florida. That's that. I saw the message, Matthew Smith. Translator got caught by the government ripping off Ohtani for gambling. Wait, what do you mean? What? This is crazy. But yeah. Ohtani's name came up in an investigation into an illegal bookie. Several large wire transfers from... Dude, so he was just stealing his money? And betting with it? I'm going to have to look this up. That's crazy. That he... Whew. Alrighty. 5 minutes. Who's down for a mock draft? Let's do a mock draft. We down? All right, we'll do a mock draft. What is this thing? There it is. And then we'll... Boom. All right, we're gonna power through this. We're gonna power through this. You guys see the screen? Is everything okay? Everything good in the hood? Because I need to wake up early tomorrow. I'm flying to New Jersey. Gotta fly to the Jerseys tomorrow. Peter, I am not. You can keep Sam Hartman off of my football team. Alrighty. Mock draft. Let's do this. I'm pausing the draft after the Cardinals pick. We're going to try to get to 5. Let's see what happens. First player off the board, Caleb Williams. Second player off the board should be Drake May. Third player off the board should be Jaden Daniels. This should be the Minnesota pick. Marvin Harrison is off the board. That sucks. Now, do we stop in Atlanta? And okay, here's the deal. If one of the 2 wide receivers goes from here, we trade up to Atlanta for the next one. If the next 2 wide receivers go here, we're trading out of 10. Deal? Deal. Malik Neighbors? Shit. Giants are going to take Odunze, aren't they? They took JJ. Oh, my gosh. Okay. The Titans won't trade with us because they'll think we're coming up for a tackle. If they don't take Odunze, we're going to Atlanta. They took him. No. I should have tried to trade with the Titans. Damn. 2 teams want to trade with us, the Denver Broncos and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Will the Jacksonville Jaguars give us... Ooh. Jacksonville will give us 17, so we'll drop back 7 spots. 48, so we'll get a second-round pick. And they'll give us a third-round compensatory pick. I'm going to offer this trade. Let's see what happens. They accept it. Cool. Let's see how this plays out. They take Dallas Turner, Brock Bowers, Olu, Talise Fuaga, Troy Fatanu, Quentin Mitchell, Terrion Arnold. This kind of worked out perfectly. Because I wanted Brian Thomas Jr. anyway. So now you can get Brian Thomas Jr. at 17, which is great, and still address tackle, or in my opinion, guard, later on in the draft. So is anybody anti-Brian Thomas Jr. with this pick right now? Speak now or forever hold your peace, because this is the pick that I want to make. This is the pick that I see having a ton of value. So let me know in the comments. Type. Give me a second. Love you, Johnny. Everyone good? I'm taking Brian Thomas. I'm going to speed up the draft just a little bit, and we'll see what happens in the second round. Yes, a lot of truth to that. Ace of Spades. Brian Thomas is not as clutch as Rome Odunze, and like Rome is a wide receiver 1. Like, don't get it twisted. Like, that's what he is. He's a wide receiver 1, where Brian Thomas is just a really good wide receiver 2. So, yeah. So, I didn't give up any assets. I traded back and gained assets. And we have depth for the first time in a long time. Boycott activity. So, and dude, if the offensive line falls apart, the season's over anyway. Doesn't matter if we have depth. If the depth gets hurt, like, who cares? Like, that's that. And here's the thing. Dude, a guy I had no expectation of being here, Zach Frazier, is here at pick 48. I would take this pick. I would make this pick so quick. So, my pick here would be Zach Frazier. I'm going to put that out there. Right? For the people who want to take a tackle, Kieran Omegajidijiji is here. If you want to take an interior defensive lineman, Chris Jenkins is here. Would love that pick too. I'm not anti-interior defensive lineman here at this pick. Christian Haynes, if you want more of a true guard in that situation. But I'm using Joe Tittman's versatility as a weapon here. Because if, knock on all the wood, AVT does get hurt, Zach Frazier comes in at center, Tittman goes into right guard, and you're easy, breezy, beautiful cover girl there. So I love me some of that. You could technically take Jalen Wright, the running back. I don't love that pick. I wouldn't make that pick. And that's really it. Those are the guys that I would say are good picks here. Frazier's good. Watches the Jets every year. So do I, boycott. I think we all do. This is all of our team. Just can't be so negative about it, man. Just gotta power through. Can't get this hurt that often, that many times, right? Haynes would be too, just has to be O-line here. I agree. Are we cool with Zach Frazier? I have a late first round pick, early second round pick. Great on him. I'm going to take him. I'm taking Zach Frazier. Let's see. Now we have a third round pick. Obviously, we have our third round pick. We have 2 third round picks. So let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Dude, Chris Jenkins was 1 pick away. Oh, I would have made that pick. I wouldn't even let you guys talk me out of it. Brandon Dorlus and Tavondre Sweat. The New York Jets sent Jeff Ulbrich and Coach White Cotton to the Texas Pro Day to watch Tavondre Sweat and Byron Murphy. So this is not cap when I say the New York Jets are interested in Tavondre Sweat, and so am I. He would be the pick that I would make right here at 72 if he was there and available. So I'm going to put him on the list of guys that you guys can take. Blake Fisher is here. Really like him as a developmental tackle, if that's what you guys are still feeling. Malachi Corley, the wide receiver out of Western Kentucky, if you want a double dip in wide receiver. Michael Pratt is here, but do remember we have another third-round pick. Patrick Paul is here. Really good there. Christian Mahogany is still on the board, so there. Brendan Rice, Dominic Pooney. Lots of value here. My vote is still Tavondre Sweat. That's who I would take at this point. We need to address the interior of the defensive line. Got 2 votes for Sweat. Anybody else? Anybody else? 3 votes for Sweat. I get it, boycott. But still, I would trade up for a wide receiver. I would give up those assets. I would move up because I think the offensive line is fine, and there are guys that you can get in the 3rd and in the 4th round to still continue to build up the offensive line depth. There's a lot of guys in this class that are good. Now, let me ask you this, Shane, right? Because we got a lot of votes for Sweat. Do you think that Patrick Paul will be available there at 96? Remember, we have another 3rd-round pick, right? So, I'm going to take Sweat here. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens at 96. See if we can walk away with Patrick Paul. There's a lot of guys that I really like here. Blake Fisher goes off. Patrick Paul just went off. That sucked. Oh, but this is actually pretty good. Dominic Pooney is still on the board. I like Dominic Pooney a lot, right? If you wanted to go tackle. Matt Goncalves is still here. Christian Jones is still here. Now, of these three, I would say Christian Jones is probably one of my more... Of these three, I like these guys. Christian Jones is my favorite. I would risk it and wait till 111. And with a guy like Michael Pratt here, do you maybe pick the quarterback of the future in Michael Pratt? Do you maybe try to find a... do you maybe try to find a Michael Carter and or DJ Reed replacement by going cornerback in this situation? Is this maybe where you start looking at safety? Eric All is a great tight end, but I think you can get tight end value later. What are we feeling with this pick? Want to see the safeties? Let's look at safeties. Cole Bishop. Cole Bishop is a really nice one. I would wait to get Cole Bishop at 111 if that's what you want. Bo Brady, that's another good one. I'm a big fan of Malik Mustafa. You can get him a little bit later in the draft. Love that pick. Katana Oladapo is a guy that you can get relatively late. I love the Katana Oladapo pick late and the Josh Proctor pick late. These are... I'm big fans of these guys. Don't think safety's the pick right here. Don't think safety's the pick right here. Let's say we can probably look at another wide receiver. We can go tackle. We can go quarterback if you wanted to go Michael Pratt. We got a vote for tackle. Johnny is behind. Nathan Colgrove is saying tackle. Someone tell Johnny to fast forward. We already took Zinter. Took Zinter in the second. No, Frazier. We took Frazier in the second. Zinter win. I don't even think Zinter's available. Oh, Zinter's available, but we can get another interior. We got a vote for tackle or Zinter. Got one vote for Pratt. Oops, sorry. I think tackle's winning it. What tackle do we want? Want to just take Dominic Pooney? I'm cool with this. I like Dominic Pooney. 6'5", 320. Yeah, BB is still available. I don't find this realistic. I think BB will be gone by this point, but BB is still available. But remember, we already took an interior offensive lineman. We took a center. You'll take Punani? Yeah, I agree. I agree. I don't think he's available here. That's why I didn't really entertain this. So we just taking Dominic Pooney, 96th ranked player on PFF's big board. We're just going to take him at 96. I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that. I'm gonna take Pooney. Let's see what happens. 111. Cole Bishop, Dom C, draft darling, Cole Bishop center here. I would also start looking at cornerback Cam Hart out of Notre Dame. I'm a big fan of his. Leonard Taylor, I'm a big fan of Leonard Taylor's. We already took an interior defensive lineman, so we don't need to take one, but I am a big fan of his. Malik Washington, draft darling of the late great Green Bean. Not late and great. He didn't die. Jesus Christ. He's there. Braylon Allen, if you want a running back out of Wisconsin. What are we thinking? Cole Bishop. We got to vote for Cole Bishop. I also like Cade Stover if you're into that. Jimmy Jets with the Cole Bishop trade or the Cole Bishop vote. What are we thinking here, guys? What are we doing? What are we doing? Take a crazy athletic freak like Isaac Garendo. We could probably get him at 134. We're taking Bishop. About 2 votes for Bishop. For real. I'm just going to take Bishop. I'm going to take over from this point on, and I'm just going to make the picks that I think matter, and then we'll look at the end, and then you guys can yell at me. I think that's easier. I think that's better. Pause. Let's go to fast. See what happens. Boom. At 134, end of the 4th round, I'm going to take Isaac Garendo. He absolutely lit up the Combine. One of the craziest Combine performances I've ever seen. We don't have a 5th round pick, sadly. So we're moving on. Into the 6th round we go. What does the edge class look like right now? I think I might just take Jalen Harrell here, if I'm being honest. We do need an edge. We haven't signed Jadeveon Clowney yet, so I'm going to take an edge here. And then we go to mystery relevance. And boom. Taking a linebacker in Dallas Gant. Why not? I don't even know who that is. Let's look at the quarterbacks. He is so bad, I'm not going to take him, but I am a UCF guy. Let's take Devin Leary, the quarterback out of Kentucky. Out of these guys, he's my favorite. I hate all these guys, but he's my favorite. Maybe Carter Bradley. Carter Bradley or Devin Leary. Jason Bean out of Kentucky, 6'3", 195. You know what? This is a Tigo pick. We're taking John Rhys Plumlee. I go to UCF right now. That's a horrible pick, by the way. I know it's a horrible pick. I made it to be a lull pick. But here's our mock draft. What do we think? This is what we did. Traded back with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Got Brian Thomas Jr., Zach Frazier, Tavondre Sweat, Dominic Pooney, Cole Bishop, Isaac Garendo, Jalen Harrell, Dallas Grip, and mystery relevant John Rhys Plumlee of UCF. Dude, this be a home run draft. Minus the John Rhys Plumlee pick, which I did for the lulz. This is kind of a home run draft. I'm going to be very honest. I have no idea who Dallas Gant is. I don't know anything about him. But I at least have talking points on every single one of the rest of these players, including John Rhys Plumlee, who's absolutely atrocious. But that's not a bad draft. This is great value. Nathan Colgrove gives it a B+. Fun fact, PFF gives it an A-. This is a home run of a draft. Alrighty. Guys, it's 11 o'clock. I got to wake up at 5 in the morning tomorrow. So I'm going to go to sleep. Thank you so much for hanging out, guys. I really appreciate all of you. We went live for like 2 hours. Impromptu, out of nowhere. But guys, you all have a great night. On the way out, if you could hit the like button if you haven't already, I really, really do appreciate it. Going to give a little bit of a shout out and drop here. If you want to become a member of the channel, link down below. There's going to be a membership button, and you can be a part of Tigo's Navy. We're going to be doing a lot more membership exclusive content and stuff like that. So if you want to help support the channel, support me and my endeavors, I would greatly appreciate it. For everyone that left a super chat tonight, thank you so much. You don't know how much that means to me. I really, really do appreciate it. If you want some Talkin' Jets with Tigo merch, link is in the description. If you want Talkin' Jets merch, go to that channel. That's some really, really great stuff. Really appreciate it. Guys, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for doing everything. Don't forget to hit the like button on the way out. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. And last but not least, go Jets. All right, get on out of here.